What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the CrazyFaceUno Podcast, where everyone has a story and everyone's story matters. What's your story? If you'd like to share, like to support the show and help us tell more stories like the one you're about to hear, please visit CrazyFaceUno.com today. There, you can purchase items from our online store and donate. As always, I'm your host, Shane McNeely, and boy, are you in for a treat today. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest today. Please welcome Alex Tsikouris. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, Shane. How are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We were just chatting a little bit before we got going. It has been a hot minute since we have chatted and hung out and spent any time together. Old college friends, huh?
Oh, yeah. It's been Bethel days.
The old Bethel days.
Almost a decade now.
I know. Do you still call it Bethel College?
I do still call it Bethel College.
I don't know
I
how
live right
you...
down the street from it, too.
Exactly. Like, I feel like it is Bethel College because that's what it was. So for you guys listening, you're clearly probably most likely not familiar with, good old small town Bethel College, but they changed the name recently to Bethel University. So it's confusing for us alumni.
It sure is.
Dude, yeah, I know very little. So one of the things I do generally is I go on to Facebook and I just go and click on the about and kind of like look around and peek around and see what I can like find and write little notes down. You got it buttoned up tight, man. And so I don't really know a whole lot about like your current life. But before we jump into that, I kind of teased you with it. I want to do this new thing in the beginning. And my question for you straight out of the gates is, what are 3 words that would best describe you?
Well, I would say that the first word would have to be enthusiastic, and that could take up all 3 of the words. but I'm going to go with enthusiastic, passionate, and spontaneous, although that spontaneous kind of left recently with the new baby girl that's here. So let's go with faithful as the last one.
All right, spontaneous / faithful. I like that. I like those words, man. Those are great. Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about and kind of incorporating in and getting, just some ideas of like how people describe yourself. I think it's a intense question. It's kind of like one of those that's like kind of hard to think about and like give words to sometimes, but I think that it's important to like, I don't know, think about and know and like how you describe yourself,
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
it's the most important aspect of life. When you look at yourself in the mirror and think to yourself, who are you as a person? How do you define yourself? That's very important and powerful in the way that you view yourself.
Yeah, and it's that I don't know if it's the question of like your why, right? Like in so many ways, it makes up who you are. Who you are is kind of like why you do what you do in some ways.
Absolutely. Find your why, like Simon Sinek.
That book is amazing.
It sure is.
I've talked about that one. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek. His book, most recent book that I just read, it just came out not too long ago. What's it called? Do you know what it's called, by chance?
I'm not sure. How recently did it come out?
Like within the last 3 or 4 months. It'll come to me. I can see the picture of it, but I can't think of it. Yeah, it's a good one too. It's basically like business and integrity within business. Would be how I would like.
Was it The
Infinite
Game?
Yeah, The Infinite Game.
Yep. Where he talks about Microsoft and Apple.
Yeah.
And the tablet versus the iPad.
Yeah, and I mean, like one of the examples I think what you're kind of getting at was one of the high ups at Apple was sitting in the car with somebody and said like, man, this other product's really good. And the guy was like, great, like that's good for them,
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, I'm not competing against like making, like tearing them down. Like it's like healthy competition and having integrity of trying to make the best product and like be the best at what you do and not focus on the exterior, like the external things that are kind of pressuring you into different ways. And, finances are a big one, but just integrity within business, and having integrity with what you do and smart marketing versus like longevity of winning your clientele over, winning your customer over by being good and taking care of them. I think it's huge. It's I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vee, but he pushes that a lot as well.
Absolutely.
Dude, you touched on it in the very beginning. You're a dad.
Yes.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank
Little baby
you.
girl. What?
Thank you.
Like, I mean,
recent. Just over a month.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've been talking back and forth, for the last couple months, and I know right before your daughter was born, you were like, dude, I just don't know like what my schedule's gonna be. Work's crazy, like everything's going crazy. How has been transitioning into fatherhood? Is it what you thought it was gonna be? What are some of the things that have kind of popped up that you didn't see coming?
I'll tell you what, there's no amount of advice, or there's no amount of times that you can hear someone say, oh, it changes your life, and you just instantly fall in love. Like, words cannot describe what it is like to have a daughter, and I'm sure it would be the same way with a son as well.
Yeah.
It is just, it's unbelievable. It's life-changing and instantly. And something else that I've really realized is just how much having this little baby has made me realize how much I am absolutely in love with my wife, and how much I appreciate my wife for everything that she does.
Yeah.
And just like how she's a superhero, man. It is
That's
it's
awesome.
Crazy to think how just intentional and how just in depth the female body goes, and just what women go through for this. So shout out to my wife for sure. And also it makes you really appreciate your parents as well, just for, you realize how helpless you are as a little baby.
Yeah, for sure, man. As I get older, I mean, just the appreciation of my parents in general is huge, and thinking back on the sacrifices that they gave for me to be who I am today and to be out in the world somehow managing to live.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I love that you talked about it is literally the thing that everybody says, like, oh, it changes your world. Like, you've never felt love like this, or like, all these different things. It gets me excited to have kids. Like, I don't have kids, Dana and I, my wife and I, we don't have any kids right now. And, we've taken our time with that, but it makes me excited. Like, I want that feeling, it's a feeling. I don't know. I think people, we chase that excitement and those types of things. But childbirth is a whole nother thing.
Whew. Yes, childbirth is a whole nother thing, and the best advice I could give to that is just be very supportive of your wife.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's it's nothing that you can ever put words to. It's just it's an emotion that is immediately there, and
That's just cool.
There's a flip that just switches.
What's your little girl's name?
Can you say that one more time?
What's your little girl's name?
Harper Rose Tsikouris.
Harper Rose. I like that. That's awesome.
Yes.
Is Rose anything specific with Rose?
It is. It's a very special middle name to us. So
yeah.
Actually, when we decided on the middle name, we didn't realize what was to come.
Yeah.
But my grandma Rosemary Kachaturoff. Her first name is Rosemary, and my mom's middle name is Rose. And
nice.
Just a few weeks before Harper, we gave birth to Harper. my grandma Rosemary passed away, and we weren't necessarily expecting something like that to happen. I thought that I had a good amount of years with my grandma and her being a great grandma. So it was very emotional, and the middle name Rose now, it just means that much more.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. My wife and I have talked about that. We go back and forth with names, and the middle name, it's similar, family, people that are important to us. Her grandfather, was his middle name? I don't know. Anyway, Louis was part of his name, and my grandmother, she's one of my most favorite people, Della Paul. You can check out podcasts with her. We recently did a podcast back last year. Her middle name is Louise, and so we'll probably do some sort of like variation of that for our middle name. It's just two people that are important to us and have meaning, within the family, and kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah, it's no better way to honor someone than do something like that.
Absolutely. Any surprises? What's been anything that shocked you? Anything that you were like, that you love about the process?
So something that's just kind of, it's kind of eye opening, like you realize that the day that your daughter comes, or the day that your child comes, it's not really about you anymore. You need to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, and you need to make sure that you're doing your daily task. But I not to gross you and any of the listeners out or anything, but I can't tell you how many times that I have skipped a day of showering, and it's just been a month. It's just been a little over a month, and this is coming from someone that I would consider myself to be a shower freak. It's at least 2 showers a day in the summer, and oftentimes 2 showers a day during the winter, but at least once. And I'm finding myself, wow, it's 9:00 at night. I haven't showered yet today. I'm just gonna wait until tomorrow. And so it's all about making sure that you're paying attention to the baby, and that you're doing everything you can to support the baby, and especially support my wife Tiffany.
Right.
And that's another thing too. It's kind of crazy, as the husband, you think to yourself, okay, like, it's game time now. The baby's home. Well, actually, that was something too. You have this huge plan, and you're with the baby in the hospital, and then it's time to go home. And I kind of just looked at the nurses, and I was thinking to myself, like, well, wait a second. Like, are you guys
are you sure? Like,
you guys coming with us? And I'm telling you, and this just goes back to earlier, but thank God for my wife.
Yeah.
She has the most maternal instincts, and she's so good with babies and children. And it's just something special. But when we did get home, and it came time to start doing everything around the house, you realize just how much the baby is dependent on the mom.
I've heard that. A lot of my friends have kids, and they've all said the same things. It's like, man, I'm like worthless right now. Like, I can't do anything. Like, this is the time. Like, I know friends that have like multiple kids, and they're like, oh yeah, it's like my job will kick in a little bit later. Like, I'm just here to like support my wife.
Yep.
Like,
it's all about
there's not much
support.
I can do. Yeah.
It's all about support. Yeah, it really is. And then with that being said as well, it's kind of crazy. I go from being a really solid sleeper, and I would say that, like, catch me on any specific day. One day I may be a little bit more stressed than the others, but most of the time I'm pretty laid back. And now having baby Harper, it's like, okay,
yeah,
I am constantly, if I hear a noise, I'm freaking out. My wife, it's a joke between us. Like, my wife is laying in bed and we're sleeping, and I hear this noise, and I jump up, and I'm up over my wife, and she wakes up and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just like making sure that the baby is breathing, and she's fine. And
I
she's
heard
fine.
a noise.
Yeah, I heard a noise. In the hospital as we were leaving after what seemed to be forever. We were at the hospital for from Monday to Saturday, and
Oof,
my wife
that's a long time. Yeah.
had a over 70-hour labor. It was
Oof.
something that I could never even imagine.
Yeah.
But when we're packing up to go, Harper started choking in her car seat, and I mean, I about lost it. I freaked out. It took an additional 45 minutes to get us out of the hospital because I had to figure out how to get her in the car seat correctly.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I just needed to calm down. I was really
yeah, just like amped up, anxiety, scared.
Yeah.
Like it's a big step. I mean,
it is. So I hope that answers your question. What are some different? What are some things about after having a baby? Yeah, a lot changes. and things just start to slow down a little bit, where you start to recognize a few more things that just matter a lot more than just your little menial tasks.
Yeah, that's cool. That gets me excited too. Is like the purpose, like your purpose kind of changes, and a lot of people talk about that, how your focus and like just perspective just changes because you've got this very dependent child that's dependent upon you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, what do you do for work nowadays?
So I actually just started at a new, extremely exciting and innovative company. They're called Nuance. And I'm on the healthcare side of things, and I'm an account executive, and I'm still so new there. I've been there for I started just 2 weeks before we had Harper.
Oh wow! So you talk about a whirlwind. Your life's been crazy.
Yeah, it's a brand new career path, and it's a new industry as well.
Cool.
So I spent a little over 4 years in the RV industry, left there to healthcare, and I'll tell you what, the company that I'm with now, Nuance, they are super excited. It's a wonderful place to work. I've some great people around me, and I can't wait to see where I'll be in 6 months, a year, and even beyond. It's a lot of learning right now. I'm drinking from the fire hose.
Yeah. The new job. That's always how it feels in the beginning. You're like, I gotta know all this. Nuance, medical. You said medical industry.
So healthcare, basically what my role is, and this is just the easiest way to describe it.
Sure.
It's going to healthcare systems, meeting with their the C-suite individuals, and helping them collect data. So there's electronic health EHRs, electronic health records.
Yeah.
And what we do is we make it so as people are as the physicians and the patients are talking, we have the capability of making it so so they can be charting without actually writing things down or having a scribe.
Oh, nice.
So it collects data, and it helps with like hospitals scores, and it helps with collecting reimbursement towards the hospitals, doctors, and patients. It basically makes it so when you are a patient, the doctor is able to pay way more attention to you in order to serve you and care for you in the best way and not miss anything.
Yeah, and yet still collect all the data that they need.
Exactly. And then when you are the doctor, it helps you make sure that you are charting things and coding things in the correct way. Sure.
That's awesome. That's cool.
So I'm still learning a lot about how we do everything.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited to see what, like I said, just each day I'm just learning so much more about it.
Does Nuance have different branches or like different areas? I feel like I've heard of Nuance now that you said that. And
So recently, Nuance just released a product just last week.
Okay.
It's like ambient clinical. It's ACI. It's basically what
Sure.
we call DAX. Well, our main product that I'm selling is Dragon Medical One,
Okay.
and it's that front end speech recognition.
Yeah.
And when people are talking, but for now, our newest product is called DAX, and it's basically a part of ACI. Now there's different means, like you said. There's different companies that we work with in like sectors in the business.
Okay.
Like for instance, BMW is one of them. Ford is one of
Sure.
them.
Okay.
Mercedes Benz.
Yeah.
Different vehicles, and then there's also just telecommunications like Verizon or DirecTV, Delta Airlines.
Does Nuance have? I feel like just like a dictation software specifically.
Exactly.
That's how they start off. Yeah,
Exactly.
Okay, that's where I've heard it before in the past, like back in the day.
I want to say it was called dictaphone before.
Okay, interesting, cool. That's awesome. That's really fun. That's that's a fun. What was your major in college?
English education.
English education. We'll dig into that a little bit later, but I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, English education. That's cool. Are you still in South Bend?
I am. I'm in Mishawaka, and now I get to work from home as well.
Ooh, look at that. That helps too with the new baby and all that.
Yep. So I'm working from home and trying to learn about ambient clinical intelligence.
I mean, it's kind of where the future's headed, right? I mean, it's a new age technology that's growing that we use. I mean, shoot, I use it on my phone, like that type of idea is like dictation software, like dictation type communication. A lot of people do it. You hear people all the time, like verbally talking to their phone to send a text message or, whatever. It's important. I mean, it's important. It streamlines a lot of things, and especially in the healthcare system, like you were talking about.
Absolutely, it can be the difference between success and going bankrupt when it comes to the healthcare world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude, let's take it back. Let's throw it back to childhood. How would you describe your childhood?
Man, wonderful, magical.
Yeah.
I have the best parents that you could ask for. I'm still very, very close with them.
Cool.
I have a wonderful sister that's a few years older than me, and she guided me through a lot. She's amazing. And a lot of my childhood, this actually kind of goes back to something that you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
A lot of my childhood is kind of dictating the way that I'm thinking about my worldview today with now being a father.
Sure. It's interesting because a lot of times, it's I mean, I think this is our world in general, right? It's these like, it's one of the laws of, here I am talking out of my butt here, but it's like every action has an equal or opposite reaction, and like as we grow up, whether if you've had a terrible experience, a terrible childhood, or traumatic things in your childhood, you're like, well, I'm going to avoid that when I'm a parent, and you're like trying to adjust, and we do that just in our country and the world and throughout our lives and everything. I like to talk about it's like this pendulum, right, that swings, and like you see the world like shift, and everybody's like on this one thing, and then it comes back around, and then we like equalize out, and it's that middle ground that's really important. But yeah, I think about my childhood and like how I want to be a parent, and obviously I'm not a parent yet, but it's like, yeah, it's an important thing to think about, and like how you want to raise your kids, and what example do we have but the people that raised us.
Yeah. It is. It has a big impact on it. I can tell you that much. There's a guy that I used to work with named Edgar, and he and I shared a car. Well, we worked together every single day for dang near a year.
Yeah.
And one time we were going to a leadership conference in St. Louis, and I don't even think that he was trying to do this, but it just happened through our conversation. We were talking about, like my testimony, I guess you could call it.
Sure.
And it became so clear to me that my testimony and who I am as a person, who I am in my faith, who I am as a professional, just everything, as an athlete.
Yeah.
It comes from my parents and the way that they showed me unconditional love, and the family that surrounded me, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles. They rolled out the red carpet for me. I had nothing but unconditional love from all of my family members. And, my dad was my coach in all of these sports. Nice. And I realized like, as I'm telling Edgar this in the car and I'm trying to explain, I don't necessarily know of this one thing that happened that kind of like was this defining moment for me.
Yeah.
I realized it hit me like a ton of bricks, like, holy smokes. My testimony comes from the way that I was treated as a young child, a teenage boy, and even a young adult with my family. And that just it really defines who I am today.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that so much. And it's true. I mean, it's part of the podcast, right? Is I want to go back. I want to hear about childhood. I want to hear about growing up, because those experiences are part of what makes you you. And, when you talk about, I describe CrazyFaceUno as a storytelling brand. And, this podcast is all about telling your story, celebrating, loving, empowering, celebrating the people and my guests that I have on, and having the ability to, kind of share a part of their life that a lot of people don't hear about necessarily, or you hear about in chunks and bits and pieces through conversation. But I couldn't agree more. I think you're spot on. That's awesome. What are the things that you would say you were interested in as a child?
Being active.
Yeah.
Being active.
Goes along with your enthusiastic, spontaneous.
Yes. Yes. So I loved anything that had to do with fighting, whether it was WCW,
nice.
Power Rangers. I remember when I was really young, I always used to ask my parents if they can bring over the bad guys from Home Alone. I wanted to booby trap the house. So when the bad guys came over, I could throw the paint can at them and everything. And then all sports, and just being with my friends, and that was really what I was always into. And I would say that everything just kind of progressed as I got older, and I was very into a lot of the same things. Obviously not the bad guys from Home Alone, but just entertainment in general. I just really get into that kind of thing.
What did you say you wanted to be when you grew up?
Oh man, I wanted to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't know what tennis was. I had no idea what tennis was. I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I wanted to be a dad.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a coach / teacher. And I didn't come close to becoming a professional baseball player.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it, but tennis, that's kind of what grew into be one of your big loves, true loves.
Oh yeah. Tennis is a daily part of my life now.
Yeah.
It was, and this just goes back to my parents constantly being there for me and just advocating for me. So, I think that my parents probably recognized at a young age that I may not be the most skilled person on the baseball field or the basketball court or the smartest in the classroom, but I think that they realized that I was going to be one of the people who tried really, really hard.
Yeah.
And,
I think that was me growing up too.
It gets you along. It gets you a far way, man.
Yeah.
It takes you a long way.
Yeah.
So it, it was no surprise that I was devastated when I, thought that I could go play high school varsity basketball, and I didn't even come close to making the 7th grade team. so I basketball pretty much took the back seat.
Yeah.
And then it was baseball, and then we kind of realized the same thing about baseball. Like, I was much better at baseball than I was basketball, but
sure.
still just not close to just being one of the stars. And so my mom, if I recall correctly, she won this tennis racket off of like airline points or something. I'm not sure how she got these 2 tennis rackets, and it looked like an alien head. And she came to me and she was just like, "Oh, Alex, you have to check this out. We should go play tennis." And again, never had my parents ever played tennis. They never played.
That's what I was
baseball,
ask.
basketball, anything. It was simply just trying to do their best to be an advocate and push me forward. And I got the ball over a few times, and I started really enjoying it. And then I just became obsessed with the game of tennis.
Yeah. That's so cool. So I guess I'm a former high school wrestling coach. I'm not coaching this year, since I just moved to Florida. I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't know that. I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But I'm just kind of putting my coaching interests on the side for right now. But we talk about it in the wrestling community big time with like just retention of athletes. Wrestling is one of these sports that, and probably tennis too, I would assume, but it's what you put into it, you get out of it. And, most former wrestlers understand that, and starting at a young age can be very beneficial down the line, but people get burnt out and get tired. And, we talk about like having fun and making sure the sport's fun. We talk about, one of the big ones is like, just within the sports community is allowing kids to kind of explore and figure out what they want to do. Did you feel like that was very much how your parents went about it? Were you the one that said, "Hey, I want to play baseball," or "I want to play basketball," or "I want to play tennis," or were they like, "Hey, you should check this out," or how did that go?
So, for as long as I can remember, I was really young when I started playing sports. So I'm sure that they realized that I was very active as a little kid. So they put me in soccer, baseball, basketball, but I loved it, and I looked forward to it every single year. I can tell you that going from elementary school to college, my parents always said the same thing to me. It's, we obviously want you to succeed in anything that you're doing, but your success is going to be based off of how hard you try. And if you get a F in a class, and you come to us and you can honestly look us in the eyes and tell us that you tried your hardest, then okay, let's take the next step forward, and let's go from there to see what we can do to get a D next time or a C next time. And I think that kind of motivated me. Was I always just thought in my head, like, I have the ultimate acceptance and unconditional love from my family, as long, just try my hardest, just be the best that I can possibly be. And that's always what I did. And oftentimes I would math is like I told you earlier, I was an English major, and I struggled with math. I'm right there with you. I'm an all around gray person, right? So there's a spectrum of colors, and it's not black and white to me. There's not much that's black and white. So I would spend a lot of time studying extra with math, and just to get the B in the class. So my goal was to never get a C in anything. And And I got that from just working really, really hard. And I'm sure that some of the teachers gave me the benefit of the doubt when they realized I was coming in on lunch and staying after school and coming in before school as well. But
Yeah.
it was all about just trying really hard. So long story short, to answer your question about sports and everything, my parents, they always let me do what I wanted to do. And they always made sure that I never quit.
What a better way to do it. I
Right.
mean, that was always one of my things. I didn't start wrestling myself until a freshman in high school, which is crazy, especially for the sport of wrestling, just to have any success within it. But one of my big things, like I was talked into it through peers, guys that were on the soccer team and whatnot. That was my one true love in the beginning, and kind of switched over time, I think. But yeah, I kind of grew up the same way, where it was like, you can start something, but you're committed to it. It's that, I don't know, commitment, integrity, whatever. And so that was my big holding point. I remember having a conversation. I was standing, leaning against this like little peninsula island thing in our kitchen, and I was talking to my mom, and I was like I'm interested in joining the wrestling team, but like I don't want to commit to something and then hate it and then be stuck doing it, And,
Right.
But that was my mentality, right? It was like, I hated the same in other sports, right? When I played soccer, I hated when people just like showed up and then they just like were half-hearted about it and like didn't commit or didn't do anything. It's like, dude, you signed up, like you're here, like just put some effort into it, And I'm just kind of like that all or nothing guy anyway. So that was my big holding point of being like, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? For the same very reason. It's like, man, I'm going to put my effort into it. I'm going to go all in, and if I might hate it, but I'm here for at least this season.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. It's definitely a life lesson, a value, that I want to instill in my kids, and just kind of, I don't know, share. As coaching, it was the same thing. One of my big things was like, I literally do not care if you win or lose, but I want to see you work hard. I want to see you
Right.
at your top peak performance. I want you to go out there and give it your all. And I want the same in the room. I want the same when you're practicing. I want to see you working hard. It's the same questions, like you said, like, did you do it? Did you work as hard as you could?
Yeah.
And it's a simple question, yes or no. Like, well, I could have done more.
It's easy to answer too.
Yeah. And you always know there's an internal thing. And there's an internal piece that you always know whether you gave your all or not. And, most of the time we really don't. And, but yeah, I don't know. It's cool. I like everything you're saying. It's great. Sports is my thing too. So I love sports. That's one of my big passions and hobbies. And, I'm always watching sports on TV, football, soccer. I love MMA. Yeah. Do you watch MMA still?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Excited for this fight this weekend?
I am. I'm very excited. I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited for all the fights.
Me too.
Even one that people don't get excited about. But this weekend, there's a few good ones on.
Yeah, double championship, double belts on the line. Whew, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one.
Oh yeah, Adesanya, dude.
All the way. I hope he gets it done. It's a scary one. I'm always a Yoel Romero fan, so I'm always like rooting for him usually.
He's the scariest 40-year-old in the entire world.
Yeah, right. Everybody talks about, like, I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he talked about like shaking his hand or like touching, like giving me a hug or something, and it's like he's literally like Iron Man. He's like solid. No. He's like rock solid.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Like I can't. And can you imagine what Adesanya is thinking too? Well, I mean, he's obviously the champion of the world. He's amazing. But that guy, when Yoel was what, 20 or like, I don't know, 20 years old. He's like 20 years older than him.
Yeah, he would be like the guy that you're like looking up to when you were like a youngster, when you're like watching the sport.
And they're both dancers too. Yeah,
right. I mean, Yoel Romero, one of my big, things for him. Everybody's like, "Are you guys still talking about MMA?" But he was a silver medalist in the Olympics in Greco-Roman wrestling, and so he's an athlete. He grew up in Cuba. I mean, he's a Cuban guy. He got out of that eventually, but the Cuban sports are no joke. He talks about it in different interviews he's had. But it's crazy just to see, the longevity of that guy and his fighting career. But Adesanya, young up and comer, he's got those hands, baby. He's got those hands.
Oh yeah, he's got everything. He's got everything.
Yep, for sure. Dude, you kind of touched on it, but what kind of student were you? It sounds like you excelled and put the work in, so it sounds like you're a pretty good student.
I would like to say that I was the student that if the teacher had to depend on me to get the A on a test, they might be a little bit nervous. I was always not the best test taker. But if the teacher could depend on one student to turn in 100 of 100 assignments done correctly, they could depend on me every single time. Big difference between my test taking abilities and my show up and get the work done abilities. I don't know, man. I feel like I was a pretty good student. I was on the dean's list more than I wasn't in college. I never missed the honor roll in high school. Like I said, I set that goal to never get a C, and that's exactly what it was for me. I never got a C. I did get like a 79.6 one time, and then it got rounded up to an 80.
Brush that sweat off. You missed that one by
yeah. I think that was Chinese class or something like that. It wasn't easy.
Yeah,
it wasn't easy at all.
Yeah. It sounds like you were a much better student than I was. I tried, but wasn't quite there.
I was super competitive about it. I was really competitive about it. I wanted to be, I just wanted to be the best version of me that I possibly could.
Yeah. See, I'm competitive in everything but like that, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. And you just mentioned like I was super competitive about it, and I'm like, man, I'm one of the most competitive people I know, and I've never really thought about that, like why I wasn't competitive with academics.
I'm sure that it's partially just maturity, right?
I think so, and I think some of it was like it didn't come easy and didn't come necessarily like I would have had to have worked harder, obviously.
Yeah.
And I don't know, athletics were something that made sense in my brain to me. Like whatever it was, like, man, just put in a little extra grunt and a little extra work and I got it. So like discipline, like physical discipline stuff, I'm great with. And and I'm not saying that like mentally I'm not disciplined either, but it's different for me. It's a little loosey goosey, a little more loose there. But yeah, it's interesting. I never thought about that. Do you have a lot of friends like high school, middle school, high school? Do you have a lot of friends growing up?
Yeah. I would say that a lot of my very close friends today are some of the friends that, my earliest childhood friends.
Nice.
You take a look at guys like, Eric Snedden or Max Weiss, Zach Weiss, a lot of these guys. Yeah. Shout out, guys. A lot of these guys, I grew up with in early elementary school. And now even if you take a look at my wedding party, I have those guys in it. I have Sam Buscemi, Eric Manley, Mark Rosenwinkel, like all these guys that I grew up with.
You got some great names in there too,
dude. I know. The nicknames that we had growing up, it was funny. It was really funny. Yeah. Mad Dog, Nick Mad Dog Madlow.
I love it. It was awesome. That's the CrazyFaceUno. I mean, CrazyFace was my nickname in college.
Yeah.
That was kind of where it spurred from. It was just like, you know what? I don't know what it means, what it had. Who cares? But it's a story, right?
That had to be a Joel thing.
Dude, it was I don't know if you ever met him. It was one of the English guys on the soccer team. So freshman year, we were sitting on the bus going to one of our 2-a-day practices, and I don't know, he made some comment like, man, you have a crazy face, like you're making crazy faces, like we're gonna call you Crazy Face. And he like yelled back to the back of the bus with like Tim and I don't know, those guys, and we're like, hey, we're gonna call this guy Crazy Face. And it was just like the rest is history, and it stuck. And
thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I mean, school hadn't even started yet.
Yeah. Little did you know that it was that your nickname you just gave me was gonna start a podcast that would have 10 years down the road.
Yeah, thanks for that seed, guys. We haven't had Joel on yet, but Joel is one of the most crazy people we probably both know. I mean, he's out there.
Insane.
He loves it.
He's one of the one of the nicest, smartest, good looking,
strong,
and I mean,
he's a dad too.
Yeah, he's a dad now, and then just absolutely just insane. Are we allowed to cuss on this the show?
Go for it.
He's absolutely, he's freaking insane, dude.
He is.
Crazy.
But he's a great guy. He told me this story one time when we were roommates our junior year, and he was like, "Dude, I was like on Facebook and I was gonna go like send you a message, and I typed in crazy face. I started typing in crazy, and I was like, I don't remember what his name is, and it's just funny like how that like permeated who I was in college. Yeah.
That's another thing for with guys that were in my wedding and just that I grew up with from elementary / middle school and obviously high school. I have this friend named Thomas that I didn't I hung out with this guy every single week, oftentimes every day for years.
Yeah.
Years, and still he even lives in Elkhart area now. Like, he moved out here. He's in the RV industry, which is where I just left.
Yeah.
And his last name what was a nickname for everyone, and we always just called him by his short nickname. And from middle school to maybe senior year of high school, no one knew what his real first name was, and a lot of people still to this day are confused by it, because his actual name is Thomas, his middle name is Anthony, but for some reason people would call him Anthony if they didn't call him by his middle name. And then like shortly after my wedding, he asked us to stop calling him by his nickname, and now people are confused. They don't know what to do.
Yeah. You're like, wait, so you want me to call you Timothy?
Yeah, like, okay. Wait, what is it? There's cool. 3 names that I know you by
now. Yeah. Give me some time, but we'll get there. Yeah. I know, man. Did you have any nicknames growing up?
Not really. I guess you can kind of say A6, and nothing really stuck. You could say A6, I guess. When I was on a trip in high school one time, and people started calling me A6, and it was a very, I would say, just small group of people. And if there's anything that goes with that, in sports, people have called me A6 before, but that's about it.
Yeah, high school was McNeely, but we all called each other by last name. It was just last name.
Yeah.
But then they would come up with especially the wrestling guys. They were brutal. But they'd come up with these like Mick names, like Mick. The one that comes to mind is terrible. This is why I said they're so brutal. It's literally it's mean. It's not nice. But they didn't mean it necessarily in the mean way. But I don't know. They'd tease me. But it was called. They called me like Mick shoot me in the face.
Or, jeez.
Yeah, like. Wow, that's the one that's stuck in my head right now. I don't know, just like nicknames, come up with it, and the most crude and like outrageous things they would say, and like I just knew that's what they were calling. They were talking to me, But it was McNeely most of the time, and then college.
Zero thought that went into, and they were just first
stuck.
thing that they could think of. Yeah,
which is like. Kind of hard to say in some ways. It's a kind of a tongue twister sometimes. I even have trouble saying it sometimes. But I don't know. It's just funny. Nicknames are funny. I love it. Like some people, you just have a nickname for them, and some people you don't. And it's weird when they stick. And it's I don't know. It's odd when you don't have one that sticks, I guess, or I don't know. Nicknames.
Yeah, nicknames. I'll tell you, and a lot of times that they go straight with your personality. Mad Dog, Nick Madalone.
Mad Dog.
Mad
yeah.
Dog.
Crazy Face. Who knows? I found myself like living up to that name, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like I would just do I would do things just to like accentuate it and make it like more like, yep, this is me. You know, I'm Crazy Face. Like I did. Do you remember in college? I did like I shaved my head. I grew it out really long. I don't know when you came along. Like when I met you, what year I was in. Did I have long hair or short hair?
You had short hair.
Okay, so it was probably post. I feel like it was maybe like my junior year. I left 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So were you in the same grade? Same.
So I graduated high school in 07.
Okay.
But
so you're like a year behind me.
Yeah, but I went to Purdue my freshman year.
Oh, that's right.
So
you came in. You came in. I think it would have been my junior year. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I had like super long hair. Like I donated to Locks of Love. I had 10 plus inches. You know.
Yeah, I don't. That's not the Shane I know.
Right. Yeah. So like when I first came in, I grew my hair out really long like that, and then I cut it off, donated it, and then I bicked it. So I just took a Bic razor and like bicked my head, and I was like completely bald. And then I went from that, I let it grow out a little bit, and then I like used a little razor to like make a checkerboard on my head. Like I just did stupid stuff, you know? Like
yeah, I think that I did a dumb haircut at Bethel too. It must have been a Bethel thing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's just like college kids, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna intimidate my tennis opponent by shaving my head on 3 parts of it and leaving just a little bit of hair.
Exactly.
Joel probably talked me into it, or what?
He probably talked me into it as well. So, Joel, if you're listening, thanks for the influence, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. How was your? Obviously, you played tennis at Bethel. Did you play tennis at Purdue?
So I did like tournaments at Purdue.
Okay.
I won at Purdue. I was never going to be quite good enough to play on that team like I was at Bethel. So got to play at Bethel a ton, and that was the dream, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. How was your high school then career? What did that look like?
It was so I started in middle school, late middle school in tennis, and I played 4 years of varsity at Crown Point High School. Had the coolest coaches and teammates that you could ever imagine, and I had a good high school career. I was I won more than I lost. I think that I lost maybe in 4 years of playing varsity. I won, or I lost maybe 10 or less matches. Nice.
That's cool.
It was the big one. I choked at state championships.
So you got second? Runner
up? No. We were going for the championship, and I just couldn't return this dude's serve.
Dang.
I would do anything to give that back. That match
right. Back. I look at that too. I mean, my high school career and soccer was soccer. It was what it was. It's team sport. It's different. It's just team sports are different. That's something I've learned I think that's why I excelled at wrestling, is kind of go back to what we were talking about. It's like effort, right? Like I'm all about effort, but in team sports, it's different. You're as good as your team is, you know, you can have a star, but like you have to have people around you. And so soccer was what it was. You know, we were a young team. My freshman year was the second year the program ever existed at my high school. And so I'd been playing all my life. So I came in with the most experience out of anybody on the team. And, you know, eventually we got there with I think it was my junior year is when our first year with like travel soccer within the county kind of kicked in. And we finally had our first group of freshmen that came in and kind of like, hey, we know what we're doing and we're not just newbies, you know? But soccer was what it was. But then with wrestling, it was, you know, it was the opposite. It was like, oh, you get to get out what you put in. Cool. Senior year, kind of similar thing, you know. I lost a match in overtime, basically to qualify for semi-state. So it was like, for wrestling, it was sectionals, regionals, semi-state, state. And so I was first alternate for semi-state, which doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. But Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same thing. I look at that match and it haunts you. You know, you look at those different things and you're like, oh, that guy got the best of me. That sucks.
Yeah, no, you hate it, but
Yeah, it's part of
like,
it.
yeah, it's part of it. It's part of it. I'm sure that there were matches that you were in that you came from behind and you won. That person looks back and is just like, I wish I could get.
I know it for sure. There was a freshman my senior year that had me he was beating me by like 8 points in our conference semifinal of our conference match, and I ended up beating him at regionals, that first round of regionals that same year. But he was beating he's beating the pants off me. I mean, I was getting worked by this kid, and I thought it was just going to be this, an easier match as I'm walking through to the finals. And dude, I ended up coming back and I beat him, but I was like, whoa, like that was that took a little effort.
It's crazy. It's crazy how mindsets make matches or games or stats in general. Mindsets play such a they just play such a large role in everything that you do.
Oh, completely, 100%. Speaking of mindset, what kind of led you to Purdue?
My sister.
Oh, nice.
if you just want the
answer.
I probably wasn't ready to go away to college right after high school. Are
you from Indiana or Michigan?
Yeah, I'm from Crown Point.
Okay, Crown Point,
Northwest Indiana. Yep.
Cool. Yeah.
So I probably should have
good wrestling
went
teams.
To they have really good wrestling teams there. Baseball and wrestling, and obviously tennis from back when we were in high school, right?
Yeah, of course. A few years ago.
Yeah. No, but I probably should have stayed in went to a local community college near Crown Point for a year before I went down to Purdue. But I went to Purdue with my sister graduated the year that I got there, so we didn't go together. But that's where she went, and always looked up to her. Yeah. She always did really well and things like that. She's social butterfly. She's like the queen bee, I guess you could call it, of just being social. And I followed in her footsteps, and it wasn't necessarily for me. Walking into a class of a couple hundred people, who knows, maybe even 1,000 in like a psychology class or something like that. That wasn't for me, because I'm much more of the relationship type person. And then as time went on, I realized that I really needed to get to a place that was better suited for me and what my needs were if I wanted to succeed.
What made you choose Bethel?
I don't know. I knew Purdue wasn't working for me.
Yeah. And
I had won a bunch of the tournaments at Purdue to play tennis.
Yeah.
And my high school coach reached out to me and said, "Hey, I went to college at Bethel. If you're not liking Purdue, you can definitely go play over there." And I was interested in playing tennis because I really, really missed it.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be perfectly honest here. Having some freedom in high school, having all the freedom in the world at Purdue, and then going to Bethel and having no idea what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah. I don't know if any of us did.
Yeah. I mean,
even if you did, you didn't really know.
Right. Don't get me wrong. I don't regret it at all. Bethel was wonderful. It was amazing, and I would do it again. It just was very different than where I was used to.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
So what made me choose Bethel? I think that there was probably obviously tennis, and that there's probably a little bit of divine intervention there that led the way.
That's cool. Well, I'm a better man for knowing you and for having that ability to meet you. So here we are.
Thank you. I feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely. What so you chose English English literature.
Yeah, just English education.
English education. Man, that's a mouthful for me. I don't know why I'm struggling with that. But what were you thinking choosing that major? Was that your same major at Purdue?
No, I was in the Krannert School of Management. And when I left Purdue and I said that I was leaving one of the top management schools in the country to go to a small school to pursue a career in teaching, a lot of people could not believe that I was doing that. And why I chose that, man, do we have 5 more hours?
30 more minutes to be exact.
One of my all-time best friends, Max Weiss, his dad and I had a wonderful conversation one time, and he just told me, before I ever even knew who Simon Sinek was and everything, he was telling me about, the why behind a lot of things. And we got into a really deep conversation actually on a ski lift that broke. We were stuck on a ski lift, so we got to get into a deep conversation.
A little more intense conversation.
President's Day weekend. President's Day weekend of 2008.
Sounds terrifying, to be completely honest.
So
those rickety old ski lifts.
Yeah. So we got into that conversation. My parents had always said that they really think that a purpose of mine was to be out there helping people, coaching, teaching people, and I always felt a calling towards that. Yeah, and I feel like that conversation with Gary really it really pushed me to open up my eyes a little bit, and then tragically, just a few weeks after we had that conversation, Gary passed away in a tragic car accident, and I think that kind of made things pretty clear to me, and it was rough.
Man, yeah. It's crazy how, I don't know, life happens, and I believe that life has, there's purpose, I guess. I've said that, and I've kind of stopped, and I don't know, it's just like, there's so many things that have transpire throughout your life that if one little thing would have gone differently, you'd be looking at a completely different life. And
it's so crazy that you say that. My wife brought that up the other day. We had a deep conversation about this.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? There's so many things, at least in my life. And so this is like from my life that I'm like, man, I wouldn't be here in Florida right now if it wasn't for like the very smallest little things that happen. Like, you remember Sam Palumbo?
Yes.
He's my best friend. He's one of my best friends. And if I wouldn't have ran into him at our like freshman orientation day and been like, hey, you want to be my roommate? And like, I wouldn't be here. Like, I don't know that I would know Sam like I know Sam. I don't know what our relationship would be like. And I wouldn't have met my wife. Which brought me to Florida. I would have never been in Minnesota. Like, there's just all these different things, that kind of go into it, and that's just small. I mean, I could go on for days about the little things that like transpired, and even before I was even born, that like led to me even being in existence. And I don't know, it's just crazy to think about.
It is. You can really get deep into thought about that kind of stuff, and I agree. There's just little things that happen every single day that help write your story, and it's amazing. I'm a firm believer in friends are just who you have as your friends help dictate your every move. Who
you are,
who your family is, who your leaders at work are. Just what you surround yourself with is what you get out of life, and taking chances, not having confidence in yourself. It's crazy how just little things add up and they make huge differences.
Oh, absolutely. And the other part to it is when you think about all the things the decisions that you've made in the past. And when you start stressing about the future, how you realize that like really the importance is being present and being intentional with the things that you want to be intentional about. And at the end of the day, those decisions get made and the weight of those decisions aren't measured maybe till later. And it's not to stress you out in the present moment, but it's just to be like, dude, you don't know what's coming. You didn't know what was coming, back then, and you didn't know what's coming in the future, and how you live your life is going to, and the decisions that you make affect your life. And
Right.
But to stay present and to stay in the moment and to make those decisions, I don't know, presently and intentionally.
You want to do your best work tomorrow. Focus all your attention on preparing for it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Being in the present.
Yeah.
Being in the present, because you can't live in the tomorrow.
Yeah. My father-in-law made a comment. I've said it a couple times on the podcast, but he made this comment of, you can only be better than the person you were yesterday. Like,
mm-hmm.
like that should be your goal. Like, just be better than the version of you that you were yesterday. And what else? I mean, there's a lot of things in between, right? But like, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you have to be proud of, and that's what you should be working towards and excelling towards. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Dude, what sounds like you've had some inspiration. You've had these people, whether it was your friend's dad or, different individuals throughout your life that have inspired you. Is there anyone in particular that kind of sticks out to you and their inspiration to who you are today and maybe some of the decisions you've made throughout your life?
I think that a lot of if you look at like different buckets, I guess people inspire me in different ways. I would say that my family inspires me in pretty much all of the buckets.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel, again, I know that I've touched on this quite a bit in our conversation today, where my parents, they inspire me so much. All of my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles. I feel very fortunate to have the family that I have. My sister, who I look up to on a daily basis. Like, these people inspire me a ton. My wife, oh my gosh, she's always been special. Mm-hmm. She's always been special, and like right when I thought that I couldn't love her more, we had this baby, and now I look at her and I'm just like, so I'm literally inspired by her so much every single day, and her capabilities of just caring for me, for our baby, for just our lives. I'm lucky. I guess that would be one of the words that I would say at the beginning of it all, is I'm very grateful, and I'm very lucky.
That's beautiful. I can tell you're very much in love. That's really cool. How did you guys meet? How did you and your wife meet?
So I was in Crown Point after I moved back to Crown Point, and I was so my career path was crazy. Right after college. I was strictly tennis. It was tennis, 50 to 60 hours a week. Then I got into sales. Okay. And then I left sales and I went to Crown Point High School, where I went to high school, and I was a teacher. And my wife is from South Bend area. Okay. And right when I moved home, I feel like, I don't know, maybe like 3 to 4 months after I moved home from this area, I met her through actually Josh Watts and Jess Watts.
There we go.
And Lauren Brown. They all had very they had a large role in that happening. Yeah. And we started dating. We started going on a few dates. We started dating, and it was just pretty easy from that point on. That's cool. Easy. I wouldn't say easy. It's easy to fall in love with her. Relationships are very, very hard, and she has taught me so much how important it is to be intentional with just your everyday thought process and actions.
Absolutely. That's cool. So how did you propose?
So we had this dog. Well, we have 2 dogs now, and when we started dating, a little bit before we got engaged, we got this little golden doodle, this boy golden doodle that I just am so much in love with this little dog. And my mom knew that I was going to propose, so she reached out to one of her friends, and her friend put out like a fake text message to me and Tiffany, being like, "Hey, I want to enter Scout into a dog magazine competition for like cutest dog or something like that." And so I went and met with him. His name is Steve Martin, and I went over to his house, and we set up his photo booth to take pictures with Scout. And then in the woods, I did like a whole scene. I put lights in the trees, lights in the on the ground, like made a pathway out of lights, and put some Veuve champagne out there, flowers all over the place, and we put a black tarp up because the whole thing was going to be that she wasn't going to be able to see it as we were walking because it was going to be so dark and we were in the woods. So we took those pictures with Scout, and then we walked out back, and he stepped on a button, all the lights came on, the tarp fell down, and she knew instantly. I think that she knew before, though. She knew it was coming before, because she's impossible to keep a secret from or impossible to surprise. So she knew it was coming.
That's awesome. That's a grand gesture. That's fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was very cool. I'll send you the picture of it all, and then I'll also send you a picture of the picture that we got of Scout. It looks like it could be it looks like it could be a LinkedIn picture of a puppy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I had a question. Did you guys go anywhere on your honeymoon?
We went to Puerto Vallarta, and it was really really nice.
Nice. That's awesome.
We looked at the front of our hotel, and it was the ocean, and looked behind us, and it was the rainforest.
Isn't that awesome? We went to Thailand, so similar. We did a little bit of both.
Yeah.
We did a little bit of jungle and a little bit of ocean as well. So
Thailand is definitely a place that we would like to go sometime.
Dude, that was what I always said. Like we went back and forth. We had different options. You know, we're throwing around different things, and it's like Thailand. Like, let's go to Thailand. You know, my wife's like, she wanted the beach, you know, kind of feel, or like that vacation type feel, and we got that. We got a little bit of everything in our couple weeks that we spent there. But you know, she wants to go to Ireland sometime, and she's like, I just don't know that I want to do that on my honeymoon. You know.
Like, you know, fair. I would say that's fair.
Yeah, I was kind of with her. I didn't know that I really wanted to do that for a honeymoon either, so it's fun.
Yeah.
But no, that's great. That's so cool. How long have you guys been together now?
So June 10th will be 3 years for us.
Congrats, man. Congrats. June 10th. We got married. I got married July 6th.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Not far away.
No. Be 2 years for us.
I was just gonna say how many years. That's awesome.
Yeah, but we've been together, man. We've tried to figure this out. I think we're going on like 6 years, like total, like since we met and like started dating and stuff. But yeah,
it's a pretty similar timeline for us as well.
Yeah, man. I don't know what I'd do without my wife. Like you've talked about your wife too, and I've talked about mine plenty on this podcast. But man, I'm the same way. Like she's my rock. She's my partner. She's my person. And, you know, we're very, I don't know, we just communicate the best we can. And, you know, we lean on each other when we need each other, and we've got each other's backs. And I don't know, there's just not much that I think we could encounter that we couldn't make it through. And I think that's cool. I think it's special. There's just I don't know, it's not very few, but like, I don't know, people in your life, like, when you're just around people all the time. I mean, we've all had roommates, we've all had different things, and there's just people that you're like, man, I couldn't spend the rest of my whole life with you, you know? Like,
right.
You just couldn't. And there's nothing wrong with the other person or yourself. It's just like, you're just different, right? And I think it's interesting when you find, you know, the idea of marriage and just in general, but like when you find that person, you're like, wow, like I don't mind being around you all the time. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I can spend a lot of time with you, and I think I'm gonna be happy with that. And it's cool.
That is exactly how I feel about Tiffany. But Tiffany probably, especially with my new role where I'm working at home, Tiffany is probably to the point that she's like, okay, go
Get the hell out of here. Yeah, go play tennis.
Yeah, go play tennis. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it.
No, it is. It's a special thing, and you touched on it. You really touched on being able to, as you do life with this person more and more, you are able to work your way through storms so much better.
Yeah.
And I would say 2000, like literally right now we have a wine label in our house that says let's never speak of 2019 again. Like to put it like super kindly, I would say that like 2019 was like the biggest shit year that you could ever imagine. It was awful.
That's
it was
funny.
And from 2019, 2020 has blossomed, and it's been a wonderful few months, and we're looking forward, and we're just one step at a time. And I'll tell you what, with Tiffany being pregnant during 2019, like again, I just don't know how she did what she did when I wasn't pregnant, and I
you were losing your mind.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. I love it. So I've got 4 questions that I kind of like to close the show out with, or kind of end things and wrap things up with. So these are I save the best for last. Start off now with this. What are 3 words that you'd use to describe you? And now I've got 4 solid questions that really really dig a little deeper. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say you're most proud of to date? Trick question. We just talked about your baby and your wife, so I mean it's a trick question, but no, I'm kidding.
So I would say that my family.
Yeah.
And that's just, and I'm talking about my whole family. Like I am so proud of each individual of the inside of my family. I'm very proud of where my wife and I are today. We worked really hard to get to where we are. Now we have a baby. So I would say like present day, I'm proud of where we're at, and I want to keep pushing to make sure that we keep moving in the direction that we're headed.
That's awesome. Here you go. This kind of leads right into our next question. What do you look forward to most in the future? Do you have any goals or ambitions?
Well, I was after having baby 1 that you hear right now.
Yeah. Good timing, little girl.
I would say that I would love to have another baby.
Cool.
Man, I would love to travel. I would love to travel more. We've been very fortunate to get to travel a ton.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do I look forward to in the future? I really would like to continue to grow my family, and I would really like the opportunity to be a coach, a mentor, like a father figure to youth. Like I look at how my parents were so close with all of my friends. I would love to be able to do the same with all of Harper's friends and baby number 2, maybe.
That's awesome. Do you ever think about your legacy?
All the time.
What kind of things do you think about when you look back on your life? Like, what do you want your legacy to be?
What I want people more than anything to feel when they are around me or when they think of me is that I am a very inclusive person, that I am unapologetically myself in the sense that I'm always going to love on people. I'm always looking for the best in people. And a lot of times when I've been burned, it's because I give people the benefit of the doubt because I know that there's good in there, and I'm trying to pull that out of people or educate people to that. My legacy, I want it to be that when people are around me, that they realize that I am always cheering for them in the deepest way possible, and to be known as, for me not to have to announce that I am a man of God, a Christian.
Yeah.
But just people know that by being around me.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. You knocked that one out of the park. Dang. Last question. Looking back, what advice would you tell little Alex? You're staring. You're staring at yourself in the mirror. You're looking at your childhood self. What advice would you give yourself?
We talked earlier about all the little things that bring us to exactly where we are today, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that for most of my life, I've had a true north, I've thought to myself, like, I can think of a few instances where I'm thinking to myself, why would I do that? Or why would I if I could, give little Alex advice, young Alex advice, it would be to, be unapologetically yourself. Go with who you are. Be true to who you are, and maybe even be more outspoken to people about the greatness that they have within them, and call it out sooner. Because I feel, I think that I talked to you, that I mentioned Edgar earlier.
Yeah.
He's, that guy, I consider him to be one of my closest friends, also a mentor. Just being around this guy, he's amazing, and he's the type of person that I feel calls out a lot of good in people, and I would tell my young self to do that more, to call the good out in people, and not be worried about the repercussions of whether or not that was cool or not. Just always be genuine, the person in the room. Yeah. Always be the person in the room that people know that they can go to, because I'm going to speak truth to them. Not going to blow smoke up their ass, but speak truth to them, and also just exude love. I think that I did that pretty unintentionally for such a long time.
Yeah.
And I would say do that intentionally, daily intentionality with that. And I think that that's how just about anyone can change the world.
You're a good man, Alex.
Thank you very much, Shane.
We are, this is the end, and I want to give you a chance to, say whatever you want to say. Give a shout out, do whatever you want to do.
Man, it's great talking to you. It really is. I love what you're doing with this. And I've enjoyed our time on the CrazyFaceUno today.
Absolutely.
I'll definitely be looking to see who some of the future guests are.
Hold on to your hats, big guy.
Oh yeah. I'm excited about it. And,
absolutely.
Hopefully we can reconnect sometime soon.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. All right.
Awesome.
I'm going to close this out. Thanks, Alex, so much again. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for listening. Your contribution helps us share more stories like Alex's, stories just like yours. Speaking of contributions, please visit us on Facebook, Instagram. You can like, comment, or post. If you want to go above and beyond, please share the CrazyFaceUno Podcast with your friends and family, or just random strangers on the street. We're welcome to everyone. Please visit CrazyFaceUno.com. There you can purchase items from our online store and donate Once again, your contributions help us share more stories like Alex's and stories just like yours. Thanks again for listening. We love you all. Peace!